What is going on, guys and gals? It is your boy J-Love coming back at you with another video. In this video, like the title says, we're going to talk about how much money you can actually make doing semi-trucking. Guys and gals, thank you so much for being part of this video, and thank you for being a part of this channel. My name is Jason. I'm the co-owner of Flash Love Logistics LLC. We are a trucking company out of Missouri. We started with one non-CDL hotshot, and at our peak, we had 7 full-size CDL and semi-truck setups on the road, hotshot and flatbed and step deck. So over the last 5 years, I've been making videos just talking about what's worked, what hasn't worked. If you go back 5 years, you can see the videos I made when we first started, and now you can look at the videos that we're making today. But I also do business consultation. So if you're wanting to get into hotshot trucking or semi-trucking, you don't know where to start, you want to talk with somebody who's been through the ringer, or if you're already started but you're struggling and you want to see kind of where your problems may arise in your system or where your problems are, hit me up at howtohotshot.com. I'll put it right here, howtohotshot.com. That is my website. You can put in a form for me to contact you. We can talk about a consultation and see if I can help you out. But furthermore, without further ado, how do you say it? Without further ado, let's get to the video. Okay, guys, so about, I would say a month ago or so, maybe not even that long, 3 weeks ago, I made a video talking about typical expenses or how much money you can make doing hotshot trucking. So I wanted to do the exact same thing with a big truck, a semi-truck. And here, that's what I'm going to do, right? We have had the opportunity to buy semi-trucks, to run semi-trucks with 48-foot flatbeds, to run semi-trucks with reefers, to run semi-trucks with 53-foot step decks. So I've been able to see kind of different trailers with different drivers and different economic conditions and kind of see what our typical cost was, what our typical gross was, and what our typical profits pretty much look like. So I want to show you some typical numbers, right? I'm not talking about really, really, really good numbers, and I'm talking about really, really bad numbers. I'm talking about something where you could go out, start your own company, get on the road, and these are some numbers that you can see. Obviously, with these numbers, like with how kind of the world is today with brokers and stuff, they don't like using new authorities, so that can be pretty difficult when you're getting on the road. I have a video about how to age your authority, so if you are looking at doing this and you want to like take 6 months and age your authority up so you look a lot older than what you are, or maybe you might choose to lease on, which would change these numbers a little bit, not too much, but obviously finding the right system to lease on to, because the reason we want to lease on to somebody is why? So we can make more money, right? So we can lease on to an already profitable system and take our piece of that pie, right? So let's go over the numbers here. So for total gross, I have at $26,000 in 1 month. I think that's a good average number. Obviously, you can definitely have a better month than this, and you can have a worse month than this. Like I've said with the hotshot, you're not wanting to be on the road all the time. With a semi-truck, you're going to have more availability of freight. It's going to be easier to get home, and you're going to be able to take a little bit more time off. But I think if you're being a consistent OTR, over-the-road truck driver, you can average $26,000 a month in total gross. I definitely think you can do that with a big rig. Now I'm talking more right now, guys. Let's be real. I'm talking about kind of doing flatbed or step deck. If you had a 53-foot flatbed or a 53-foot step deck. Obviously, if you're doing dry van, I mean, these numbers could be all over the place. You're doing reefer, you can see a little bit different, but we do open deck, flatbed, or step deck, and these are what these numbers revolve around. For truck payment, I have it at $1,400. I think that it can be a pretty typical truck payment for a semi-truck. Obviously, you might see it higher than this. You might see it lower than this. But between the truck and the trailer, a lot of times what you'll see too is you go get an equipment loan and the bank will actually pair the trailer and the truck together. So $2,000 a month as like a minimum monthly payment for that equipment, I think is a number that you will see. Maybe go a little bit lower, but even if your minimum is $2,000, like I've talked about before, definitely pay more than your minimum. You want to get that equipment paid down because you don't want to get stuck in a position where either this equipment breaks down or you need to get out of trucking for whatever the reason may be, but you owe too much on your truck. Now that situation, I think, in semi-trucking won't happen as quick as with a hotshot. Obviously, we talked about putting so many miles on a hotshot, not paying down your monthly payment, not paying down your loan on that truck, just paying your minimum, and then getting stuck with like being $30,000 flipped in it, right? So here with the semi-truck and trailer, you're going to have more time with this truck. Hopefully you buy the right truck. You have at least 5 years with it. You're going to be able to make more payments, but overpay from your minimum. But for a minimum, I think $2,000 for the truck and trailer minimum monthly payment is a number that you'll probably see or probably be around. Insurance, I have at $2,000. For a new MC number, I think you could probably get insurance for $2,000 or under. If you're somebody who has a CDL, a good driving record, has a good experience, and you're starting your own company, you might actually be able to get a lower insurance rate for your full-size semi-truck than you would with a hotshot. There are some insurance companies that do not insure hotshots. I remember when we were going through our different insurance companies and kind of, trying to get better quotes and change companies, there are some companies that would not quote us because we had gooseneck hookups, right? We had ball hookups. If we had fifth wheel hookups, they would quote us, but because we had gooseneck hookups, they would not quote us. So as an entry-level trucking company, most likely you're going to be with Progressive, but if you're somebody who has a good experience and a clean CDL, and you're starting your own company, you probably have, your door's probably a little bit wider open to other companies starting out than what it was for me or what it might be for some other people. So I think $2,000 a month for insurance for your truck trailer and for yourself and for your company, that's a plausible number. You might be able to get a little bit less than that. You might be able to get a little bit more than that. So fuel, I have it at $5,500. So I'm basing this off of running 10,000 miles per month. I have obviously the rate per mile on average, all miles, $2.60 per mile. That's a pretty conservative rate per mile. I think you could probably get better than that, or you might see a little bit worse than that sometimes, especially starting out. But if you did 10,000 miles per month at an average fuel cost of $3.30, your fuel is going to be roughly $5,000 or $5,500. Now, hotshot, you might see a little bit better with your fuel cost because you might have a little bit better fuel economy. But the truth is with hotshot, a lot of times you can get terrible fuel economy because maybe the load you're hauling is like a 40-foot container or just like a big brick in the back of your trailer, and it just destroys your fuel economy, right? So I think with a semi-truck, you're going to see probably, depending on the truck, obviously, 6 miles per gallon, 6.5 miles per gallon. You might even get 7 miles per gallon as some of the newer trucks that are coming out with the automatic. You might even see better than that. It really depends on the freight that you're hauling, the weight that you're hauling over a long period of time. And that really plays a factor in the hotshot side of things. But the full-size semi-truck, you're going to see probably 6.5. When we do our IFTA actually tells us what our average fuel economy is. And I'm usually roughly around 6 on my big trucks. So driver, I have it at $7,000. Obviously, we talked about the driver's pay before. I think I put it here at 25% of gross. Plus I added $500 for a kind of, sometimes the truck breaks down when you buy the driver a hotel room, or maybe you just get the driver a hotel room 1 week, or maybe you're driving and you want a hotel room, or maybe there's a detention where the driver is sitting somewhere for a very long time, so you add a little bit more onto the load for him because you're getting more money from the broker maybe, or one day the load falls through, the driver doesn't have a load, so you pay him $100 for that day when he's down. But like I said before, I think 25% is a good entry wage for a new driver that you're hiring. It's a good rate to pay yourself as well. If you're driving, you can go up to, usually I'll go up to 26% after 6 months, 27% after a year. You can go up even higher than that. I see guys pay all the way up to 30%. But if you're driving the truck, one thing I want to tell you is you need to pay yourself a driver's wage, like I talked about before. This is, you should set aside a percentage to pay yourself as a driver. Obviously, if you're the one driving your truck, makes life a little bit easier on you in tough situations because you can actually choose to pay yourself less. But if you have somebody hired, obviously you can't choose to pay them less. But I like the percentage because the percentage is based off of gross. So if money's not being made, then the driver's not getting paid. But if really good money's being made, the driver's getting paid well. So, obviously you're going to have a safety net in there. So when the truck's down, driver's still getting paid, stuff like that. But I average about $26,000 in gross. You're going to pay the driver about $7,000, which, is not a bad pay at all for, you'd say, an entry level or a new company hiring a driver. Factoring, I have is $780, 3% of gross. I think that's pretty standard. Dispatch is at $1,300, pay about 5% of total gross. And one thing about having a full-size semi-truck with a full-size 53-foot step deck, you're going to be able to find a quality dispatcher a lot easier. And it's easier to dispatch for a setup like that. There's a more of a variety of freight. And so you can actually, hire somebody close to you, a friend of yours or a family member, train them up, dispatch. I have a dispatcher training course, pay them 5%, $1,300 a month for dispatching you. That's nothing to scoff at. That's a good little chunk of side gig money. If they have something else they're doing, maybe they're working delivering pizzas at night or whatever the case may be, they can have a pretty good little salary altogether through both of those things. And, dispatching you, maybe you want to add another truck. They're already there ready to dispatch that truck too. One dispatcher can really handle up to 4 or 5 trucks at any given time. So I think they can definitely be that dedicated dispatcher for your company. I'd rather you invest in somebody now and get them ready for the future than just pay some rando to do it. Maintenance, I have at 10% of gross, $2,600. Obviously, one thing with semi trucks is what I've realized is that when something breaks, it usually costs $1,000, no matter what it may be. At the end of the day, it's probably $1,000. Every time my driver says, "Oh, this happened," it's probably going to cost me $1,000, and that's just because by the time maybe you have to get a tow, or maybe you have to call roadside, or maybe whatever the parts, whatever the case may be. I just say $1,000. If it's under $1,000, good, But usually it's going to be that. So you're going to pay more for maintenance. But if you're putting $2,600 away per month, and let's say you're only on average spending $1,000 of that, you're putting away a good chunk of money to either A, be ready for a big repair, or B, put against the loan amount of your equipment to be able to buy a new truck, or put down as a down payment for your future new truck in 5 years, right? So we want to prepare ourselves for both big maintenance issues, because they are going to arise, big repairs, or to get our next truck if that does not arise. So either or, I think, is great there. So other costs that are going to occur, $800. I mean, you're going to have your ELD costs. You're going to have maybe you buy the driver some food. I don't know. All sorts of stuff can fall into this $800. But ELD costs, fuel card costs. There's going to be a little fuel card fee, and just like your pre-pass. Stuff like that. About $800 per month, just random stuff. Maybe you want to have a gym membership for your driver. Whatever the case may be, that falls in the $800. Then tolls, we cannot forget tolls, guys. You have to be ready for tolls. I lifted the toll price up here with semi-truck because obviously it's going to cost more for a bigger setup like a semi-truck usually, depending on how many axles you have, which hot shot can have just as many axles as a semi-truck. But I put it at $700. Like I said before, you might say, "Oh, tolls aren't going to be that big of a deal. I don't need to run anything for tolls." You need to get, whether it's the best pass or whatever pre-pass that has, tolls integrated. You need to have something like that because you're going to hit a lot of tolls that you never even expected to hit, and getting these letters in the mail and just trying to pay them, from the side of the truck, it's just too much, my friends, too much. So get that and really understand where the tolls are. I mean, if you go to Philadelphia, or if you take I-70 through Pennsylvania, you're going to pay a lot of tolls in that, just from that little run right there. So just knowing where the tolls are, they're going to rack up pretty good. So total expenses out of $26,000 is $22,680. Company profit comes out to $3,320. So you might say, well, that's a lot of expense out of gross, right? We are building, guys, a sustainable business. You're not going to get rich quick in trucking. It is not going to happen, right? It is a sustainable business that should provide you profits month over month, right? But that's not always the case. Obviously we look at this and we say, okay, the margins are pretty tight. Out of $26,000, I'm already profiting $3,000. But if you're the driver of your truck and you're able to pay yourself $5,000, $6,000, or $7,000 a month, plus the company still profits $3,000, like, you can build a sustainable business for yourself, maybe being an owner operator of your own accord there. But like I said, guys, we're building a business here. There are going to be high levels of expense. That's one thing with trucking. There are lots of expenses. But if you do $3,000, $12,000, $24,000, $36,000, you're talking probably $40,000 of profit per year per truck. If you have 3 trucks that can kind of average these same numbers, you're at about $120,000 in profit per year. Now, as you add more trucks, obviously more expense can occur, right? You have a higher likelihood of a big breakdown. So it's not that simple of saying, "Oh, you're just going to profit all this money," guys. This is a business that you have to really think about. You have to really do your research. You are getting into a lot when you do trucking, and understanding the true numbers is something that is so very important. When I jumped into trucking 5 years ago, obviously I was a little bit naive, but having the information now and growing through that experience, it's like, oh, if I went back, I would do everything so much different, right? So differently, I would do everything. But here we are 5 years later. So hopefully you guys could learn something from these numbers, seeing these numbers and kind of seeing what, if you jumped into this, what it would kind of look like. I mean, from these numbers, you know that a lot of these expenses are going to be fixed costs, right? We have a truck payment, trailer payment, insurance, and some of the other costs that you're going to have. I mean, you're going to have roughly probably $6,000-7,000 worth of fixed costs. Those costs are going to occur whether you are on the road or not. So getting the right equipment, being able to be consistent on the road, whether you are driving or having a driver, is going to be crucial, because you're not going to be able to afford to take 2, 3, 4 months off. You're going to have to be on the road, and hopefully you can build a system to where you're not, if you're the one driving it, you're not married to the road unless you want to be, but that you can make good gross. You can be able to take time off. You can get back on the road, and you're not feeling like when you're at home that you have this ever burning feeling in your lower back to get back on the road, because you know that bills are about to come out. We don't want that to happen. I see that happen a lot in hotshot, and I don't want that for anybody. And I've been in that position where I'm like, we gotta get this truck back on the road because I gotta pay bills. Because these reoccurring costs will get you if you're not ready. But hopefully you guys learned something from this video. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad you're part of this channel. If you liked it, like it. If you subscribe, please subscribe. Go to howtohotshot.com if you're looking for a business consultation. I'm here to help you guys. I love you guys. I thank you guys. And I hope you all have a great day.